Hey, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of the Social Primate. Thank you guys for tuning back in. I know it's a little late, but here we are regardless. Today, my guest is a really good friend, a teacher, educator, and for the sake of his protection, his alias, his secret identity, we know him as Gallo. Really great guy. I really enjoy our conversations. I feel like, although we don't see face to face to every issue, we are able to have a conversation and, go have back and forth and build on it, which I think is a really great and important part of a conversation building, only because the whole point of a conversation should be to basically develop your points, see things from a different perspective, and ultimately try to meet in the middle. And ultimately, you just want to have a better understanding of both sides of the story rather than just the one. And then I think it's up to us as individuals to take that information and decide what we want to do with it. Without much further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the conversation as much as we did, as we talk a little bit about social media and how it's been affecting us, how some of this stuff, it's a little rampant and we don't exactly know what the final outcome of all this is. But yeah, basically, I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. As always, check out some music. Today's artist is ZZAY with their song Late Bloomer from her latest album called Botany. Check it out. Also a great girl. I had the chance to meet her multiple times, and I always enjoy her music. So check it out and stick around at the end of the episode for the full song. So, hey, welcome back to the Social Primate Podcast. Today we got a friend and special guest. We got Gallo. If you're asking why Gallo, let's not get into it. Let's say he's a master. What's up, Gallo?
Hey, it's good to be back, actually. Good to be back here in this area, over at the studio and stuff. I've been doing good, yeah. For
people who don't know him, I feel free to call him a friend. And, basically we met through Caesar, which is one of the ex-members of Live Local Podcast, because it's dead now. But not really. It's just in a really long hiatus. But yeah, we had the chance to conversate with him probably once or twice, if I have a horrible memory, but one or two times. I'm glad you're back, and I was hoping today we can just go ahead and touch base on just a few different topics, little nitpick different things that have been going on, and I think some people will be interested in listening to and building on it, I would say.
Yeah, totally. I feel like there's a connection to every kind of topic, like whether or not it feels like it's like completely off topic, like there's always a connection somehow. I like uncovering those connections and making those connections, just like what we were talking not too long ago. There's already a lot that's like, like this drama that's going on here, it's like, same story but different names from months ago anyway, you know? So I feel like a lot of shit has been going down recently. Is like, if you look back last year, it's like, again, like same drama, different names.
Yeah, exactly, different names. So, I guess, like, to start things off, I think one thing we were just talking about right before we started recording this was, like social media, how at least what we were talking about in regards to Facebook, how at this point, at least to some people, it has like this
dark veil cast over it now at this point, because everything that's been happening over the last year and a half or so, they're in just a bunch of these little dramas that have been getting into like the public or the individuals' is privacy and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like earlier today, I was catching up on how like Facebook actually like put their hammer down or whatever. Like they actually intervened on one event because they said it was like compromised by like Russian, or there was some like suspicious activity, that there was like some shady person. And with this event, it was like a very like left event that was supposed to be counter to like a neo-Nazi event or in response to recent neo-Nazi activity. But the issue was that this one guy who was active or recruited, so to speak, to be an admin on it was allegedly or apparently catfished by some sort of bot or some sort of Russian, or just some other entity, right, claiming to be one person, but actually being shady and not really being
having like a separate agenda type of thing.
But the issue comes almost there was this argument on it being like a free speech issue, but what it boils down to is that it's funny how Facebook is even recently like trying to do damage control and try to take control of its image right now, and trying to, I guess, like I said, put the hammer down and be serious about suspicious activity and bots and stuff. But it does affect legitimate people who are trying to organize, be anti or counter white supremacy and stuff. But like the claim is that they were compromised by Russians, and like I think that's how kind of Russians are, like messing with us, really.
Yeah, right. They're coming in from the inside and like a Trojan horse type of thing.
Yeah.
For Facebook, I mean, even then, I would say that a lot of people rely on Facebook. I would say because they have. I think recently they removed their news articles, like at least on mobile.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Like you can go to when you're searching, you can see like the top headlines and stuff like that. Which basically, for the people who didn't know, like I guess they use some type of algorithm, which I'm sure a bunch of different places use them. But basically, it personalizes your page, like how you get your ads on Google and anywhere you see. They're basically personalized based on your, search information, your user data.
Yeah.
And, they build personalized bubbles of information from where you get. And then, again, that's when, if they are Russian bots or, whatever liberal website or article it may be, you're only going to see of that specific kind,
Yeah.
So they removed that because I think, because everything that was going on with the 2016 election, that it was hacked and they could have had they were making campaigns and all these pages. I think they removed that because of that all fake news. Because you didn't really hear the phrase fake news till like 2 years ago tops, like when it started getting rampant.
Yeah. Like a big tactic is to kind of steer the image of something. So like, what was funny in those times was that like there was these like Bernie pages just like cropping up, and like really what they were was just like memes.
Yeah. And
just a flooding of memes, so that controls the image of how the left looks like to those who are conservative or on the right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it kind of like gives ammunition to those people who are in that thought, who are already kind of like hostile towards anyone who's like liberal or fits a liberal image.
Yeah, I mean, like talking about the memes, there's I wouldn't say companies, but there's like little pockets of creators that make memes with the idea of trolling, and they're using that a lot, like to demonize liberals, or I mean both ways. You can't really say that the other side doesn't do it, but honestly I forgot where I was going with this. Fuck.
No, it's a little crazy because like my response or my immediate response, it's like it really comes down to a very like to its core, to its like primal thing, where like 2016 has come and gone.
Yeah.
Even 2017 has come and gone. Now we're in 2018. Like, people's frustration, I feel, turns into fatigue, and then turns into, or like throughout, it's like a process of being desensitized or numb. But like even that numbness turns into this kind of like sense of like it's eating away at us to the point of like it's a flight or flight. So like I for sure deleted my Facebook because that's like my just physical response to like everything, where it's like like reading drama and stuff, and whether or not it's like somewhat connected to you or associate with you, or you have association with it, it's like you kind of sometimes at a certain point just like throw your papers up in the air and be like, fuck it, I'm out, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's what happened, because there's this news that went out not too long ago that like it was like a big dip in Facebook, like in the market and stuff, and like it was because of this, like it's going through a slow growth, so like not many people are joining Facebook that much more, and like why would they? Yeah. So I think it's just we're watching it kind of crumble down now.
Yeah, for sure it's crumbling down. Yeah, like especially again with all this drama stuff like privacy leaks, and you know how they're just, you know, at least different pages, because you can create ads on Facebook and that information gets collected by anybody who's basically paying to collect that.
Yeah, and like there's I think like a way like people sell stuff on Facebook too. Yeah, like and just too, and one of the related articles I was reading, it was like, you know, there's just these like European like white supremacists like selling their merch that all this racist stuff, like, and it's like, no, they could do it, you know, they could, you know, their stuff free reign, or one, like one got banned or something, but then so many more of those remain, you know?
Yeah, like a few days ago too, they were announcing that they removed like 32 accounts linked to that. But I mean, I'm like,
maybe I think that like I have the suspicion that's like a fraction, you know,
like,
of what's really going down.
First, I don't even know why that's news, because you would expect that they're able to fucking search through, you know, the millions of accounts that are there and find a lot more. You know, 22 is like, okay, like, whatever, but. Yeah, I mean, moving on. You said, you know, you deleted your Facebook and all that, because again, there is that drama. And you know what? Since you mentioned that, I've thought about like maybe I should delete my Facebook. Like the only thing I go on there for is like recently just check out on the 4 friends I normally fucking post something, or just watch random videos that they're, because that's a new thing, Facebook Watch or something. Like videos,
like TV.
Yeah, like
basically.
Facebook TV,
it's like
basically.
TV.
And it's like, you can see that's like their claws, you know, fucking grasping.
But guess what happened? Because, look, like, I deleted Facebook, and then just later that night, I go to my Instagram, and I see now ads about, like, hey, like, Facebook is a thing. Like, join Facebook.
What?
Like,
shit.
that for real happened. Like, I could go, and like, it's been nonstop. Like, I've been on my Instagram, and, you know, Instagram is under Facebook. So it's like, lo and behold, like I go to Instagram, swipe through stories, and then every other ad is Facebook itself. Like, oh, do you know, some shit, and I'm like, God, like they know, you know, like it's just an algorithm basically. Like automatically, you delete, right, and it's connected, or you know, because it's linked.
Dude, that fucking ad shit always tripped me out. How it just gets so personalized, and it's really like today I was at work, and I was fixing some Yelp page, like updating information, and I forgot how, but I was on Instagram later that day, and then it started saying Yelp ads, like, oh, buy our ads, you know, like post one of your ads on us. I was like, what the fuck? I was on a desktop, not even signed in to my fucking email or anything, and then on my phone I'm seeing it. I'm like, that's some fucking trippy shit. I'm sure your phone collects like voice data once in a while, like. You say, you know, it's, you know, like Siri. You say Siri, hey Siri, and like she turns on. I mean, I have battery mode. Normally she turns on.
Like you want directions to a place, and then that's tagged with other keywords, you know?
Yeah, so it's picking up that information, you know, and it's just looking for that metadata. Like as soon as it hears hey and then the Siri, it's going to like, oh, okay, hey, I'm here. It's still listening to you. Yeah, and that shit just trips me out. Yeah.
Funny enough, like that's a librarian term, like metadata. Like, yeah, and people say it's like an irrelevant thing, but this is literally what it is. Like, this is a library of people, and so we're linked in many ways. And under us, as what they call your virtual identity, your presence online has a value and can be traded or could be like that. And that's, I think, literally what has been going down. That we've just been kind of used as like some sort of capital. You know, we're just like, you know, moved around. Our data and our habits are just kind of like somewhat tangible, you know, it's like, oh, like you this one thing, okay, that could benefit this one corporation or
Yeah, and it's
or
targeted
chain,
to you, like,
this one
hey,
franchise.
come over here. Buy
Yeah,
our
yeah.
stuff.
Like I like anime and I do this and that, and like of course I get anime ads all the time.
Yeah.
Like like it's just one of those things where it's like it seeps into your world and becomes your worldview.
The way I see it as an example, I guess if somebody's trying to visualize it, is like everything that we're at least talking about right now, if it was to be translated, every word is basically a hashtag that you can link that hashtag and see where that comes from, you know, and it's being collected. So, you know, you put your hashtags on fucking Instagram, you open up that page and you see the results of whatever is traced as that, you know?
Yeah, and like that's one pet peeve I have. Like, you go to one person's post and they have like 10 hashtags in a single thing, and it's like, I don't know, like I don't see how it really benefits them. Like, I think some people say like they're doing a hustle or something, like they want to promote their health, fitness, or their private little like side business through like linking themselves to a bunch of these hashtags, but at the end of the day, I don't know if it really benefits them. You know, like I don't think they're really getting anything out of it except feeding into something else. You know, like
I would expect the results to be a little bit more scattered and not stable, because you're reaching a bunch of random people that just happen to like your picture visually.
Yeah, I think people could analyze this in YouTube, you know, like freaking YouTubers and how do they rise, how do they fall and stuff. And
yeah, like on Instagram, at least for like a business page, like at least for the podcast page, you can see stats. So you go on the page and you see, gives you like the 7-day period, and it shows you what day there's more activity from your followers during the week. So you can follow that and go based on when you want to post and stuff. It shows you like a breakdown of men and female, their ages. Like it's you know, it shows you 68%, at least for the show, is 68% male, 32% female. And it tells you like what cities, LA.
Does that, because you're the one, like you're in this, you know, like how does that affect you? Does that even like,
honestly,
how does that impact you?
I find it pretty helpful in a sense, only because it gives me feedback to know, like, okay, when is it best to post something, time my stuff, you know, and it gives me time to, at least for my end, to try to put something that's a little quality, you know, and then, okay, put it up there, this is when I'm going to get more views and more exposure, and then you see like, oh, 52 clicks in the last 7 days or something on your website. So it's like, there's people that even when you're not posting at that point, you're getting the interaction, like people are at least opening your page, and then you see like little increases in the episode numbers and stuff. So I mean, it's helpful, but like one of the points I wanted to get earlier was the Yelp. When I said I was working on the Yelp, they have that information. The trippy part, there's more sensitive information other companies get, but just seeing how Yelp showcases this was like, what the fuck? So basically, it shows you, you know, when you use Yelp, you can call, find directions, whatever the fuck you want, see reviews. Point is, Yelp tracks every action you do on that Yelp app on the website if you're logged in, and it gives you the track like, oh, a woman from her late 30s called you from her cell phone, a young man from his 20s read 4 reviews or something, and it's like, what the fuck? It's like super descriptive of, I guess, who the target audience that's reaching out to you is, which I understand it could be helpful because it makes you kind of, you know, make your market go towards that. Yeah. But it's just like information that's just randomly being collected. You're just data. The information is just data.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, like I have seen and kind of agree with this idea that this entrepreneurial thing, like online, if you're a YouTuber or Instagrammer or whatever, you're what a platform this is, whatever, like you're in these social media stuff and you're trying to or successfully get to that point where that is the one thing that is your one job, you know, that is your one main source of income. Like that's a bubble that's gonna burst. Like I've been seeing that prediction around, like you try to get to that point where like like YouTube is my like main source, like that's my thing now, and you could leave your other job, you know, like that in itself might come to see, you know, the consequences of all that.
Right. Yeah, there's this channel that my kid occasionally watches. It's called Hobby Kids on YouTube. and there's basically just like 2-3 brothers playing with toys and opening up toys. You know, so basically at that point they're sponsored by toy companies for them to showcase video reviews or whatever. For some reason, there's a lot of kids that are really interested in that, like just unpackaging of toys. Who knows why? But the whole idea is that those guys have gotten so huge. Like at this point, they're coming out on TV commercials.
I think I know. Now I think I know. Like
shoot. And I saw them like they were fucking like 4 years old, and now they're like the oldest is like 8 tops, maybe 7. But it's like holy shit, like. Those guys monetize the shit out of that, and
but that's the culture now. That's happening. Like this ingraining of like, okay, I'm consuming the very idea that someone was a consumer. They went to a store, they're opening the product, and then now you're kind of like you're having this itch that like eventually you might scratch. You know, like you're gonna go and get that thing, or you're gonna go shop and get something that's like similar. Yeah, that makes me think like, oh shit, like. I did unsubscribe from some people who that was just all they were doing. Like they were unboxing something, or they were doing a haul because they went to a major store, but they were like sponsored by the store.
Yeah,
you know, like, and that all of it is just kind of like the main, I guess, crossroad where I'm at as a consumer is like, damn, like, isn't there something else? Like things get homogenized like that really quickly, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, I'm just like, you know, your kids could watch whatever they want to watch, but at the same time, it's like, if someone's getting acculturated like that at an early age, then they have to get critical at that early age.
Yeah, in a sense, I kind of feel a little bad about, like, you know, like, I don't sound like an old man and shit, but, like, just, like, the way they're being exposed to all this media and stuff. Because you're like a search away. All you gotta do is put 2 words together in the search bar, and you get whatever result you want from across the fucking globe, you know? And I don't know. I think as you're growing up, that information could be really useful, but there's also a lot of bad misinformation, you know, being fed, and just like these ideas of like, you know, there's a channel called Unbox Therapy, which I sometimes watch, but the name of it, Unbox Therapy, it's like, you know, it's like fixing that itch that you have, you know, to kind of see what the product is like, and you view it, you know. But yeah, it's crazy. I think like place with that social media stuff.
Yeah, like something that was really, really huge, like blew up, was like makeup tutorials, and so who benefits?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Who benefits from that? The makeup.
Yeah.
People, like they see like, oh, you know, like it's kind of like the products gets used, but then they kind of go into it and be like, okay, I'll sponsor you then, because they could, you know, put in that dough, and then the people then become your salesmen, like salespeople, like basically, and like the more they kind of spread out there, the more of a hold they have in that market, like because that's all the ones people are talking about and stuff, and it's like try to get you get a big name that blows up, that person does your product or reviews your product, and then people are going like, oh, I follow this other YouTuber who does the same thing. Then that person, like in their head, they get this this impulse to comment like, hey, so and so did a review of this product, you should do this product, you should review that same product. Like, you know, like, oh, like it's see if it messes with your head, like
fuck yeah. Again, it's just we're in a weird spot. I think we're still we're really like in a point of infancy with the internet technology, I would say. You know, it's been around for a few years, like 40, 50 years tops, like modern technology in a sense. And I think we, you know, probably like 20 years since the internet came out, and Facebook was like 10, 12 years ago. So the point of us, like everybody being able to collectively kind of like interact with anybody you want, is just, you know, we're still toddlers. Like, hey, fuck you, talking shit.
Like,
you know, overexposing to it and indulging.
Like as a toddler, like your brain isn't thinking, like your brain doesn't have that kind of identity yet. Like what your immediate, the immediate stimuli, that's your world. Like you didn't have nothing outside the walls of your house, that kind of a thing. Like you're in this room, like everything in like a very small radius, that's your whole life. And that's how people comment. That's how people rant. You know, it's like I guess we kind of regress psychologically.
Yeah, I've seen at least some people like, if anything, they're more, at least people that I know, they're more in like their late 20s, that started at least like taking breaks from social media every now and then, like, to be off for 2 weeks. You know, it sounds like an addiction, first of all. Like,
yeah.
Like, 2 weeks from Facebook or Instagram, and you remove them.
I've
like,
seen that, yeah.
Can't send you memes, man. And, stuff like that, but...
Yeah, or like, I think when you remove, or someone removes themselves, like their online presence, their like their physical presence, because it's their relevance, and by association, their presence in someone else's life is like kind of removed.
Yeah.
Because if you're not even following up with them in real life, like in person, then in your brain, your reality isn't taking into account their existence.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
How about that?
And it feels weird. I mean, like, I'm sure I've been on the part where I'm on my phone and I'm with somebody and I'm probably not paying attention, or I'm busy on my phone and completely ignorant about the experience that I'm having at that time. And I've also, been on the receiving end of that, where I'm with somebody or anything and they're on their phone, and it's like, you feel it, like, you feel the disconnect, like they're there, but then they're not there.
Yeah.
Or even when they're talking to you, like, on the phone, it still feels like empty, like a hollow shell of whatever the words are saying, type of thing.
Right, because if we're visual, right, and our visual is on the screen, then our facial response or reactions come from the stimuli from the screen.
Yeah.
It isn't from the stimuli, like it's that thing, like, who would win out, or like what kind of stimuli wins out, like what you hear or what you see?
Yeah, it's gonna be the visual.
I have a feeling, it's what you see, like,
yeah, for sure.
Because like sight, like the things we receive from sight, it's faster than its speed, like the speed of light is faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So of course, like what we hear actually isn't as strong as what we see.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate with cell phones.
No, like I when I was deleting, I was going through this process, and I did this before. Like this is my second Facebook account. I went through, like, it's trippy because you have to quantify your friends list. Like, I was going through the list of people and going like, okay, how am I still connected, or how could I, in my mind, create a sense of closure with that person? Like, were we close friends, or like, or what's the extent of our connection or relation and stuff? And a lot of people came up, and in my mind, it was like, oh shit, this person existed. Like, oh, I forgot,
Yeah.
Like, I completely blanked them out of my memory. So seeing some names and trying to remember who they were was a mind-blowing experience, because it came to me like, oh shit, like, in some way I feel bad that we didn't like follow up, or we didn't create a stronger connection, whereas in other people who are online, and I would always see them posting something, and like our connection wasn't even that strong. Like, there's some people, like, I don't know if you care to admit this, but like, there's some people who we follow, or we're like connected to, and you only kind of build resentment for what they post. Like, you're just, the relationship is just one of resentment, or, I mean, I'm a jealous kind of person, low key, like, so, like, it's one of those things where, like, actually it would benefit me if I disconnect, or if I cut the tie from that person, because it's part of the reason why, like, this thing is so toxic.
Yeah, I mean, it could get easy. It's easy to get into that with Facebook. Even Instagram, you have a bunch of random ass people following you sometimes. Like, who's really looking at your stuff, man? Like, what the fuck? But I mean, you can make it private, but that takes the fun out of it. But but yeah, so it's weird. The one that's really fucking weird to me is Twitter.
Yeah, and we were going to go into that for sure, like, in this show, like,
like, Twitter is a fucking weird one, because it's, you can do whatever you can share whatever you want in there, but it's mostly about trying to put in as much as you can within 140 characters, or I think it's more now, like double.
Yeah, they probably doubled it. Yeah.
Yeah, or something like that, you know. But there was a cap initially, but the whole point was to put your thoughts into one little fucking tweet. And it looks like, at least up to recently, if people have been following, I mean, it's always been kind of like a talking point, with Trump, in a sense. He's one of the first presidents to just communicate through tweets and
like the second
claim a bunch of shit over a tweet and try to make it official government, federal wise.
Oh, but like just this week, the statement is now flip flopped, and like the administration is saying, "Oh no," or someone representing said already, like, no, like whatever he tweets out is just his opinion, it's not official. Like, so like it was like a complete reversal or backpedal of that.
Dude, with these fucking guys, you don't know what the fuck's going on. Every day is just like, fuck, bring it on.
Down is up is down, and up is sideways now.
I honestly don't bother sometimes to. I mean, I still read it. I just like to read it, but I'm so desensitized to like all those new or bad bullshit that comes out. It's like, fuck, like.
Yeah. Things that
it's overwhelming at some point that you just don't give a fuck. Like,
yeah. To a point where it's like, currently right now where it stands, it's like, the statement was like, oh, there is no collusion or whatever, there's no crime. Yeah. Then now they're saying, oh, this thing is not a crime. So it's like,
oh yeah,
it's like, and people predict this kind of behavior.
See, so that comes back to like the whole fucking, at least the idea of Twitter. So we mentioned earlier about the case with like Roseanne and James Gunn, the guy who directed Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1 and 2, some pretty good movies.
Yeah.
Not that I'm for him, I'm just saying pretty good movies. But the point being is that, like I have a few bones to pick with that. So
like for me, my take was when that shit was going down, it felt funny because
so let's give a little background really quick on it. But if you understand a little bit more, feel free to pitch in. But at least from my understanding, it was that some of his tweets from like around 9-10 years ago or so, they were brought up again by forgetting the fact that the guy was a right-wing guy. He's like an extremist kind of guy type of person. To brought him up to bring light to what politically people have been saying, it's like political correctness in a sense,
Yeah.
He brought it up, tweets from 10 years ago, and they basically spoke about pedophilia and like.
It was like sexual assault or
rape, sexual assault like and stuff. Make in a sense he calls them jokes. Yeah. I guess in a sense they could be jokes, but they're jokes in really bad taste. And after I read some of them, again, I'm not defending the guy. There was a bunch of weird ones. There's a few weird ones that I was like, "What the? Okay, that's not really a joke," and it was weird as fuck. But I also saw it in the context that I don't know the backstory of it, but they're also all accumulated in one page, so you can see everything. There's no in between, like background type of thing. But yeah, I guess that's one thing I wanted to bring up was just the fact that how everybody's been reacting to that. Disney fired him. People are petitioning for him to come back as a director.
Even the whole cast.
The whole cast.
All the Guardians of the Galaxy.
They're behind him. They're saying that they support him for who he is now. The whole idea comes back to saying like, if somebody, can somebody change and not be held for their responsible for their past actions if they've come to a point of like, hey, you know what? I know I fucked up, in a way trying to take responsibility for what happened, so that's one side that I've heard, like, okay, can somebody change and can they not be held responsible for their past actions even after they've, decided to change? It's like a drug addict, can you blame them for being a drug addict if they're trying to change their lifestyle? And do you hold that against them in a sense? So that's one point that I heard. And the other point would be, basically they're going to be promoting the idea of somebody making jokes of something serious like that, especially Hollywood's like secretly known, like in the Illuminati, to have fucking child rituals and like all these weird shit with kids. and even religious signs. So it's something that is seen as like just plain wrong type of thing. So yeah, I mean, that's where I stand. Like you can see both sides, I guess, but it's hard to see it, like how you can balance something out like that.
Yeah, it's weird because the more you read into one specific case, like I think the more it becomes like a tunnel vision, or it becomes like it kind of you're enclosed to that issue and stuff. And I think that's where a lot of people's reactions go to, where they're like, oh, like their feelings were like really into it, like there's a lot of people who would, just for the sake of getting another good movie out there, would be like, like they would immediately create a petition, have a bunch of signatures, and of course it will blow up and whatever, spread that like wildfire, and would be like, not to say one thing's permissible, but one thing is like we could like just move forward from, but my take was that like it's like one of my big mottos, I think, at the end of last year to beginning of this year was like, there's some issues there's some things that are not too deep. Like I can't bury my brain into a specific topic nowadays, because we're inundated with a lot of cases and topics and dramas. Like something's not too deep, and I should, within a span of time, like just kind of come to a conclusion, wrap things up. So like with James Gunn, like in the grand scheme of things, like one person not doing a movie, like literally that's what it is. Like he's not doing the third in the sequel, and he did the other two. Like, is that like a cause? Like, is that something that we should like be gung-ho and say this is what's right? Like, I don't think so. Like, I wouldn't put my energy into someone, and like the dude's like white, the dude's a guy, like he's in Hollywood, like he'll be making more movies. So in the grand scheme of things, like why not? Like Marvel could just fire or like hire, replace, and they have in the past already. Like, they've hired and fired people for a lot of reasons, like already. So just another person that's
creative differences, you're gone.
Yeah, like okay, you're gone. Like bye. Like it's not that deep. Like.
Yeah, I mean, Disney's a fucking billion-dollar company and shit.
So with that, it's like I think social media itself is fueling issues that are like we could really already kind of move past on and not get too immersed into and get lost into. And I think that's how we get lost. Like I think we're getting lost in this idea of like we could re-debate on political correctness, or like the comedians on Twitter, which is like an actual thing, like this giant collective consciousness, or like this kind of like whirlpool of comedians that defend a person's right to be funny on any topic in any matter. Like that itself is also something that's fueled in social media. So I wasn't surprised at all where like comedians came out in defense of James Gunn. The issue is that like if that person's your family or whatever, like your brother is like that, and he was like being a douche like back in the day, and had this kind of way of joking around and stuff, and he now is trying to be legit, or he's like saying he's better. Like I'd say that your past, you can't just like shrug it off and say you never did it. Like you own up to it, you learn your lesson, you get better, but you can't be surprised that you got fired for your past history.
See,
you can't.
One of the arguments I did read was like, at least that in a sense, air quotes, is that Hollywood is setting up a precedent for a precedent. Right, precedent.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. My fucking tongue slipping here. Basically stating that anything that you've done in the past can be used against you, even if you were not involved with the company per se. So, I mean, I guess you can see it in that sense. And one of the points that some other celebrity had brought up is saying, like, using Disney as an example. Like the movie Dumbo, like the crows and stuff. There's racial, what's it called? Racial connections, or I guess, or inside jokes there, that are put into that movie, and other past movies that they have had that have like those stereotypes or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the whole point was being is like, if Disney as a company can accept those and move on and say, hey, that's what we did before, but now we're moving past it and doing, more family-oriented stuff. Like, I guess he used it as a bigger example as like a corporation, like compared to James Gunn, like he made some of those mistakes, but he's willing to accept them and move forward. So so now it's okay for Disney to be accepted as they have changed into now type of thing. So I mean, it made a good point, but again, it's like, everybody has an opinion nowadays. And, some of them make sense. Some of them are just fucking retarded. It's true.
You don't use that R word.
Oh, okay. We're not retarded. They're,
dense? I don't know. Like, what are you trying to say? Like,
I'll just say they're stupid.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Like, my thing on it was, like, I don't want to, I would never see myself as someone who would be very gung-ho and, like, put a lot of emotional energy, almost like how in this day and age we have like stan culture. Like I wouldn't put all my energy and passion into a specific person, and their drama, because that would really affect me in ways that like you only see later. Like, the way you would like be like, oh, like, I'm gonna drop whatever I'm doing in my life. Create some sort of not GoFundMe, but like create some sort of change.org petition, right? Spread that around social media, or like stay in a Twitter conversation or debate online, and like obsess over like, did that person reply to me or not, or whatever, or should I say more about it or not? Like, I think that's one immediate thing people need to like really pause and be like, oh shit, like, am I about to dive into that kind of rabbit hole? Because that's totally not worth it.
It goes deep, and then it goes deep, and it can be a rabbit hole.
And it's weird because in the grand scheme of things, it's like it was just like this other issue that happened not too long ago. People probably already forgot, but there was this giant movement basically to edit or like redo the last Star Wars movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, see,
personally, I did not like that movie, but the idea that they want to remake it is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's like to think like, my God, like I think there were some people who were legit, like they were sincere about that kind of push. Like, it kind of makes you think, like, I don't know, it blows the mind. Like, whoa, like I don't want to be that kind of a person.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think that's what's like the conflicting part, and then, like, the whole thing started with like Roseanne. That was a few months ago. So basically, also using Twitter, she made some racial. At least people interpret it as being racial. I did. I was like, man, why would you even think about saying that? Like, come on. I guess she was referring to one of the. I don't know if it was a judge or some sort of political figure. She referred to them as like a planet, like looking like from somebody from Planet of the Apes.
She made that reference. Yeah.
And obviously, I think she was with ABC because she has a show owned by Disney. So everybody on the left was like, oh, like, they fired her. Everybody like basically teamed up and said, oh, get her out of there. And she got fired, and at some point they reinstated her show at some different show, but not with her. Yeah,
that like they were tooling the whole concept and stuff. But basically, that's because they want to keep this built-in audience. Yeah, that's what it was.
One of those most watched shows supposedly in America or something. Like the ratings on that were
she was because she was big in the 90s.
Yeah. So like stuff like that. So she basically got brought down by, I refer to that as like mostly the left group. Because obviously the people on the right will be like, nah, that's not racist. They're the ones
she's free to
express herself, Yeah. And then what happening with somebody from, I guess, 13, because I know James Gunn was a really big, what's it called? He was against Donald Trump. Basically, he was always on Twitter, like calling him out and stuff like that. So having somebody from their group basically be put out in the spotlight like that, it was because, again, this information came from somebody in the alt-right. And somebody also that's been recognized as being, having rape charges and like pedophilia and stuff. Yeah. And so that's what's like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck's going on? And then just to wrap that up, it's like, have you watched Rick and Morty?
I did. I'm not watching their third season. Is
Yeah.
it? Or
Yeah, well,
their new season or whatever. Like I it's one of those shows I dropped. Really.
yeah. I mean, I have to say I like the humor that they have in the show. It's dark and it's just some of the story, besides being also ridiculous and like outrageous sometimes. There's things that you can ponder about, like
Yeah, like they're very deep, very
yeah,
like thought provoking. You know.
yeah, exactly. But again, he was also one of the people who got outed for having a video from a few years back, where I guess he was simulating having like sex with a baby doll or something. And Adult Swim came out and basically just said like, hey, you know what? We're aware that he did. We are aware that he did that. We're aware that whatever happened, he's accepted it. He said sorry. We're aware of it or something along the words like that, and that he knows that it's not something that they're gonna continue tolerating if it happens again. So basically, he got a free card. Like Adult Swim was like, okay, we understand it happened before you were with us. We're not gonna make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, it's like it depends on. I don't know what it is, dude.
Well, there's this huge cycle of stuff. Like, gosh, like, I mean, we don't have to look too far back, but like, there was something that happened in Cartoon Network where a showrunner, like a guy who had a show in Cartoon Network, and I think it's still on. Like he assaulted or something, or he was acting inappropriate, like lewd behavior or whatever. Like they pulled his show for a while, but then he just went back. Like I think people get slaps on the wrist, but it's a little tricky because a lot of other things where like say with Roseanne and stuff, like a huge overnight movement sweeps it and like tries to like take the control of that, like of that controversy and stuff, and they kind of win out. Like for instance, what was that other example? Like Louis C.K. and stuff when that went down. Like
oh fuck, I remember that. I was like, fuck.
And like people kind of know with certain situations, like in the during the big Me Too movement and that wave, it like if the if it was big enough, it actually would come down to, or it would really make that impact. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it almost ties with money, or like, oh, the big top brass sees it. It's like, oh, this person's no longer profitable, or like, they kind of predict it or forecast that and be like, okay, now we're gonna say something and we're gonna remove all ties. Just like with Harvey Weinstein and stuff, like it was that big enough where it's like, oh, it's no longer profitable for us, and that's what it is. Yeah,
basically. So that kind of brings up the last kind of thing I wanted to come up here before we finish this up. Is a chismoso talk from earlier.
Oh yeah, like
so it talks
even more.
Saying Me Too, the movement. These are movements that basically are a collective of people who feel, extremely strong about certain issues that they're trying to get. Besides the exposure, they're just trying to open people's eyes, I guess you would say, or.
I think it's like multimodal. It's like, in one way, because it is saying Me Too, mm-hmm. like it's like to empower people's voices and stories as a way of like saying like before they weren't heard or validated, but now you're validated because someone else went through the same thing. Yeah. And then the other mode of it is like the person outside of that is seeing like, oh shit, this really is this is something that we need to address, or this is something we can't just kind of dismiss because we've dismissed it before. Yeah.
See, so that's what brings up, that movement, what it stands for. It, at some point, stands for something. In this case, I'm sure many of you have heard or at least come across the page on Documedia. I had the chance to talk to the guy, Ivan Ceja, like a year and a half ago on a podcast for Live Logos. He was a cool guy. I had a decent conversation with him. I would have not expected anything like, what came up. But there was something. I was just like, you just get little vibes from people. Like, you feel it and you're like, okay, well, whatever. I'm not going to touch it because you don't see it, right? You don't see it then. But yeah, point is, for the people who don't know, I think of like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whatever, an article came out. I think you said it was Medium, right?
Medium, yeah.
Yeah, Medium. So it was basically a post, an article stating that one of the members, I think once they kind of started and they've been working through she was experiencing like harassment or like what's the word I'm looking for? Not what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? Jesus Christ! She was just being fucking degraded in a sense, you know. First of all, professionally, because you think of Undocumedia, for people who don't know, it's basically like a non-profit organization, and they're really big on Instagram, and they're big promoters of like, Latino, Hispanic, culture, the issues that are going on. They try to stay on top of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm losing my words right now. They're really active in regards to like protesting or building like these little pockets of action in the sense, for the community, for the community at large, especially right now with like the DACA stuff, the separation of immigrant families. Yeah. So they basically at this point they've developed themselves to be a platform that signifies that Latino community, Hispanic community, or and they promote like Black Lives Matter, all these different, like an umbrella for these different issues, social issues.
Yeah, but like one person like who wrote the Medium article and stuff kind of opened the doors for other people to voice how they've been harassed or they've been
floodgates
degraded.
Have been open.
On a lot of contradictions, because when you say like they or Undocumedia have been trying to connect or link with like Black Lives Matter and like that kind of discourse and stuff, like, well, Ivan himself has been called out as being like anti-black and making those kind of anti-black comments and stuff. To that point where like it's like I've seen that before with other dramas that have gone like down 2016, 2017, where we have like male members being activists and stuff and kind of using power in this very Weinstein kind of way, like using their sense of power to like basically take someone, and usually like it's like a male to female kind of interaction and like that kind of thing where they try to like prey on someone, and if it doesn't go their way, if it doesn't go well, they use their power to manipulate and like make it harder for that individual person. Like professionally succeed they use their influence, their sway, the word to be like, okay, like no one work with her anymore, or like just kind of like control their image and say like, oh, she's hard to work with, she is a liar, or she does this, like pile on all these things, and in a way to just kind of defend themselves, and just kind of like built up this kind of reinforcement in case they get exposed, right? And it's just this pattern of behavior too, where it's like the individual, part of the issue, and in reading the article was like part of the issue was like she had to sign this non-disclosure agreement, which in itself is already like shady and kind of like kind of signing away something and making this kind of certain agreement, and then kind of seeing how it goes down. Like it's like, dang, like when I was reading about it, it's like this sounds exact or super parallel to like this thing I read last year and the year before that and the year before that. Like
so that's what trips me out. Like you see like these people who are supposed to represent. It's not just about the person, but it's about what the organization is supposed to stand for in a sense. And at least to me, the disappointing part was, I followed them for a while, for a few years. I saw how this page kind of just grew, and it just, it grew into a large community of people like legitimately trying, using their influence, legitimately using their influence to kind of support different causes and stuff. And it was cool. That's why I was interested in the beginning to kind of interview them. But again, like it's disappointing just the way it was all handled. Because at this point, it's like you stand for something, like you've promoted this, but yet as an organization, you can't come out and just come out with a full statement addressing her, her experiences, because they're valid. Those experiences are valid, and the fact that they're doing all this shady shit, at least from the main guy side, it's like what the fuck? Like, what do you? Like, how you have to hold your leaders responsible, like, in a sense,
Yeah,
like,
and I've seen for sure one post that kind of resonated with me in a way. Like, I didn't realize this, but like, yeah, like this this kind of issue or this kind of pattern of behavior is like, it deters people from activism. It deters people from that kind of experience, and like that's what's so hurtful. It's like, of course, people get discouraged immediately if you really built up this kind of like active, or you build up this type of organizing, and then it really crashes down like a house of cards. Like it crashes down because there's no transparency, there's no consequences to behavior.
Exactly.
And it becomes like a lot of what people say, like there's this like feeding ground in which activists could just kind of come in and just do their thing.
Yeah, they just pray and like.
Yeah, and then like it traumatizes victims. It disillusionizes a lot of people, and it also like builds divisions within people. Like even some mujeres, like if they're in like top positions and stuff, and they weren't they weren't victims themselves. Like they may be influenced or swayed in a way that kind of like dismisses or invalidates what a colleague says. Yeah. And like that's part of the cycle. That's part of the pattern of behavior.
Yeah, dude, it's fucking weird. I mean,
like I myself, I thought I would be active later in my later 20s and like going into my early 30s. Like I thought I would be like more active, but then like I'm further discouraged from at least online, like from being active and stuff, because we're just seeing like the same cycles again and again.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I'm sure there's going to be it's gonna keep crumbling down for a while. Like just everything that's just like these things, they're gonna be exposed, they're being brought to light. But I at least do have some hope that it's all going to be balanced out. Like there's going to be like a reflection of things, and then there's new people that are gonna step out and use those as examples as to not what to do. Because again, it's about the power and the status and the privilege you might have that to some people it's just psychologically like fulfilling, and that they want to use it and take advantage of it.
Yeah, like it totally feeds the ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's why some people tweet late at night. That's why some people keep going. They double down on some things.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all just gotta learn how to manage things social media wise. Think twice about jumping into the conversation with somebody on there. Not that you shouldn't, because you should be creating the conversation, but for the sake of creating understanding, not creating just some, drama.
Yeah, bullshit. And I don't know. My conclusions have always been around like slowly step away, like slowly kind of disconnect yourself. Like honestly, like we need to get back to like physical, like face-to-face interactions more, because the more we practice those online forms of communication interaction, the less practice, the less experience we'll have with like the face-to-face ones.
Yeah, exactly. Those people get fucking awkward, including me.
Yeah, right? Like you get more and more people are saying, oh, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm awkward. Yeah. Like those are becoming new like traits.
Because you're not used to fucking talking just like that, But I think we'll come back. We'll be hybrids. But Gallo, thanks for coming out, man. And again, thank you for staying up late for this.
No, yeah.
It was fun. I appreciate the conversation always, and hopefully people can at least like, besides the stuff that we talked about, there's deeper levels to that. Like break it down and think further.
Yeah, and like. Not like my recommendation would be like don't get too lost. Yeah. Like you get really stuck into these rabbit holes. Like don't get stuck into it. Really, just like turn shit off. Yeah. Go outside, breathe.
Yeah, dude, for sure. But again, thanks, Gallo. Thank you for coming out. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah. What was I saying
Yeah.
last time? Before we started, like this is episode.
Oh, this is episode 6. Yeah.
So in Pokemon, this is the Charizard,
Charizard.
episode.
Fuck yeah. OG Fire Starter, dude. Charizard's just fucking. That guy and Pikachu forever gonna be my favorite Pokemon.
Dang. Well, you're gonna get to that Pikachu episode.
25.
Yeah.
That's the one I remember for sure. 25.
Yeah.
And 151 is Mew. And
Yeah.
Mewtwo, 150. But yeah, Pokemon. You guys, catch you guys next on the next episode. And and by the way, thanks for the people who responded to the questions on there on Instagram stories, because I kind of helped build what I wanted to talk to you about today. So you guys are the MVPs. Peace. Thanks, Gallo.
Yeah. Thanks.
Late bloomer, you're living proof that it's never too late. Stay beautiful, don't you know it's worth it to